man to replace me. You're going to be the king of the land. David forgets all about these promises. And he focuses on, no, forget it. I'll never be a king. It's all going wrong. Right? Sound familiar? I'll never be a king. Everybody's against me. The ego of Christianity. We've talked about it a lot around here. There was a guy, speaking of pessimism, there was two farmers. And these two farmers decided that, they said one of them was an optimist. Everything's positive and we can do it. And the pessimist who was looking into the future with everything go wrong. Well, these two farmers got together and they got up one morning and he said, hey, Leroy, boy, look at that sun come up this morning. Ain't it pretty? Ain't it beautiful? It's going to shine on our crops. And he said, yeah, it'll probably scorch our crops. Well, yeah, but and then a couple of days went by and it was raining really hard. He said, hey, Leroy, look at the rain come down. God's given our corn a drink this morning. And he said, yeah, but if it doesn't stop pretty soon, it's probably going to wash all of our crops away. And he said, and then the corn came on really heavy and really strong. And he said, look at how good our crops are. Look at the harvest this year. And he said, yeah, but it's probably going to break the stalks and gum up our machinery. On and on he went. Finally, his optimist buddy said, you know what, I'm tired of Leroy being so negative. I want to give him something he has to be positive about. He went out and bought him a bird dog. And so he trained this dog to do unbelievable feats. Nobody had ever seen an animal do these things. And so he said, hey, Leroy, let's go duck hunt. He said, all right. They got out to duck hunt. The ducks flew over. They shot the ducks fell in the water. He looked at the old dog and he said, Rufus, go get it. Rufus jumped out of the boat and walked on the water. Picked up the duck, one at a time, walked back out, and brought it back. And he goes, what do you think of that, Leroy? Leroy says, can't swim, can he? See what I mean? This is, why do we do that? Why do this? Honestly, though, why do we do that? If you're like me, because these are the people that are living, what if? Look at what is. Yes, but what if? I know I have a nice house, but what if I lose it? What if it burns to the ground? Yes, but you have a really nice house. Yeah, but what if a burglar comes in and gets it all? I've always said if a burglar shows up at my house and says, we're here to get your money, I'll say, hold on a minute, let me get my flashlight, I'll help you. Right? Let me help you find it. Okay, so, here we are. This is the person that is what if thinking. Well, yeah, but what if that happens? And they're so negative, and it drives you crazy, right? Why is that? Because we're focused on ourselves, and that's what David was doing right here. He was totally focused on himself. Now, I'm going to tell you this, too, that God has never led me to a pessimistic thought. I did not say I've never been pessimistic, because I have. Probably more than I'd like to admit. But God has never led me to a pessimistic thought, because God doesn't lead into pessimism. God leads into faith and belief. Doubt sees the obstacles, faith sees the way. And that's where God leads us. Well, David's got his eyes closed. He doesn't want to hear about it. So we're looking at David's doubt. Now let's cut him some slack. Because honestly, let's be honest, we've all been there. Now this is a time, and again, if you're putting yourself in his sandals, you realize that when something has gone on so long. Yeah, but my little boy has been in cancer treatments now for 2 years. Where's God? Come on. Yes, but my daughter was killed in a car wreck on Friday night. Where's God? Now you can understand what he's feeling, because this is kind of how he's feeling. This guy constantly at his heels. And he's in this stinking thinking. All right? Now that's where he's at. Stinking thinking. Now remember, it's happened for 8 long years. Now let's look at the third thing. That this is the third cause of his problem. Rationalistic thinking. Chapter 27, verse 1 again. Look what he says. Someday Saul's going to get me. Then he says, the best thing I can do is to just escape to the land of the Philistines. So what is he doing? He's justifying wrong. Now, if you want to get into the slow of despond, we start justifying our wrong, don't we? Well, I know my attitude stinks, but you know what? Here's why. After all, I was serving God, and I was doing good, and I thought I was God's man. I'm just going to live with the enemies. And how can God be mad at me? After all, he's letting this happen to me. So he starts this rationalistic. Then he leads to his defection. And by the way, listen to this. This is a quote by Kent Crockett, and I think this is really good. Compromise is planting God's flower in the devil's dirt. Planting God's flower in the devil's dirt. Compromise. Trying to make both ends meet in the middle. And if it's wrong, there we are. So, as soon as we start thinking to ourselves, we wind up in the enemy's camp. Okay, now I'm going to show you something I want you to see. Oh, by the way, there's Rufus. I forgot to put Rufus up there. Okay, huskies aren't bird dogs, but that's... Yeah, we're going to be on here. We're going to... It's the only one I can find of a dog walking on the water. Okay, now, I told you that the section we're going to look at right here, because now we've looked at the causes, now we're going to look at the consequences of this decision. So, what happens is in a carnal state, and you may agree or not disagree with this, but this is how I see it. Okay? I do believe Christians can. You got three ways in life you can go. The natural man, the Bible says, worry, growth, and gross sin. We are in sin. We are born in sin. And we will die and go to hell without Jesus Christ because he's outside the life. Okay? Jesus is outside the life. And self is on the throne calling the shots. And all these, my wife, my job, my kids, all the stuff that involves my life is all out of order. I give my life to Jesus Christ. I become the spiritual man. Christ moves in. He takes the throne of my life. Self is kneeling at the throne. And we have all of the things in our life coming together. Not perfect. Not perfect. But they're coming together. He's giving some order. But then there's a place where we can go where we decide, I love Jesus. And he is in my life, but I still want to call the shots. And I decide this is where David's at right here. At this point in his life, he goes to a place where I want self back on the throne, and I just want to do my own thing. Now this is carnality. This is the carnal mind. Okay? And the Bible talks about it. I'm not going to give a bunch of verses on that because I want to move on from this. But basically, he looks Christian on the outside, but very non-Christian on the inside. Think about that. Psychologist Rollo May said this: man is the only animal that runs faster when he has lost his way. Isn't that true? We lose our way, so we decide to turn in the wrong direction. We run just as fast as we can go in the wrong direction. Because it's not going like we think it should go. So here we are, we're watching David's downward spiral. And another thing you might want to notice is the companions. David's downward spiral kind of speeds up right here. And part of the reason for that is, look at this verse. Okay, 27:3. David and his men settled in Gath. They didn't just go to Gath. They weren't there for a weekend visit. They settled. I'm not only going to flirt with the sin, I'm going to live there for a while. Because after all, it's fun. Fun. I like it. Okay? Each man had his own family, all this. I don't know. I think that verse might be a little out of order, but that's okay. I'm going to go take it here. David's friends. Check it out. Surround yourself with people who strengthen your character and remove yourself from people who compromise your character. I'd say this especially for the young people today, you young boys and girls. You know the old phrase, you run like a skunk, you run the skunk, you smell like one. Right? You bad corrupt, 1 Corinthians 15:33, bad company corrupts good character. It's that simple, all right? But check it out. When you have to start compromising yourself, your morals for people around you, it's probably time to change the people around you. Well, David decided not to. He decides he's going to settle in Gath. And I want you to keep in mind, this didn't affect just him. This affected a lot of people. And isn't that true? In our lives, our decisions affect a whole lot of people. Okay, so we've looked at the causes now. These are the consequences. Here you go. Let's see, hopefully this will be. I think that's it. Okay. The first one is the false sense of security and peace. This is a consequence of this. A false sense of security and peace. Look what happens. When Saul told you that was told that David fled to Gath, he no longer searched him. So David now is saying, hey, I'm safe. Hey, I'm away from this guy. He won't chase me down here. I'm safe. It's a false sense of security and peace. He's thinking, finally, no more pressure. I think we've all probably felt that way. Now see, here's the thing. Keep this in mind. David knew that he was away from the pressure of Saul, but he didn't realize that now he's in disobedience to God. That creates a false sense of security, doesn't it? He's away from the will of God. Now, Hebrews 11:5, this is about Moses. As Moses chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Why do I put that in there? Because Moses did the opposite of what David's doing. You see what I'm saying? David's saying, I want to sit here and enjoy, I want to settle, and I want to enjoy this for a while. Moses said, I want to be mistreated with God's people. I'll be beat up and pursued and killed or whatever. I'm going to stay with God's people rather than enjoy the pleasures of sin. And notice this word, the fleeting pleasures of sin. Pretty easy to get wrapped up in it. There's a song that says, sin will take you farther than you want to go. Slowly but wholly taking control. Sin will leave you longer than you want to stay. Sin will cost you far more than you want to pay. So this is what Moses understood this thought. David didn't give a rip. Okay, so now the second one. This one is the second consequence, is submission to an adversary cause. Submission to an adversary cause. Look what it says. It says, then David said to Achish, which was the king of Gath, the arch enemy of Israelites. He says to Achish, if I have found favor in your eyes, he wants favor from the king of the Israelite enemy. If I have favor in your eyes, let a place be assigned to me in one of the country towns that I may live there. And why should I, your servant, live in the city with you? Now, submission to an adversary cause. He's now he's a servant to the enemy. Do you see? It's really, it's a sad thing. Okay? And there's the rest of that verse. So, a year and 4 months, it talks about him living there. All right? Now, he goes to a place called Ziklag. I just have a quick